Today I'm going to show you how you can take this to this. Hey, Courtney here with Brushstrokes Pottery, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret today. Okay, come here, get a little bit closer. I love succulents. Yep, that's right. For me, they've been easy to maintain. I don't garden, so it's been the one thing that I can keep alive. I have them all in the kitchen, on the windowsill, in my office, and out on the back patio. And I'm always on the lookout for a cute little plant pot. And I just got to thinking, why not make my own, right? I mean, hello, I'm a pottery studio. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna walk you through how you can create a cute little planter out of a slab of clay. Super easy, stick around, show you a couple different paint options at the end, so let's get started. In order to get started, you'll need a few supplies. You'll need a water bowl, a paper template, clay tools, plastic straw, clay slip, clay, paint, paint palette, and brushes. You are going to roll out a slab of clay. Now this is Lowfire earthenware clay. This is sourced locally. Check and see what is available in your area, or I will link a few suppliers below. You can purchase that and have that shipped into you. But for the purposes of this, I've gone ahead and rolled this out using the slab roller. If you don't have a slab roller, you can certainly use a rolling pin and get 2 dowel rods or paint sticks, and you can roll that out for pressure. If you search a couple YouTube videos, I'm sure you can find some tutorials on how to get a nice clean slab. You'll also need your template. I'm working with just cardstock paper that I've cut out that we can use, and this can be cut to whatever size you would like to use for your plant pot, and you can continue to cut down the clay. So start with, a good size, maybe 4 inches tall by maybe a foot. This is just a regular size length of paper. So I've let my clay set for a little bit, so you can tell that it is a little leather hard. So it is easier to kind of work with and not super duper wet. But as it is wet, what you will want to do is take something similar to this. This is a Kemper Tools, just flexible piece, to smooth out and compress your clay on both sides. If you don't have something like this around, the trick, you can, if you have an old hotel key or a credit card with a smooth edge, then you can certainly use this. Then you are going to grab your template that we just talked about and set this down wherever you would like. And then you're going to cut around. A couple of options for you here. You can use a fancy dancy tool. You can use something like this that has a sharper, or if you don't have any of these tools, you can use a simple bamboo skewer. So depending on what you want to do, I'm partial to something like this. Then I'll hold this down, cut a clean line all the way here, cut a clean line all the way here, take away the excess, and hold this, come all the way across. Do the same thing for the bottom. Take away any excess, and then you have your piece. Next, we are going to score the edges and then add some slip, and this is what's going to hold your piece together. You're going to grab your cutting tool again and make super fine little lines and cut all the way into the clay. I like to go one direction and then turn around and flip it and go the opposite direction. But the purpose of this is to really rough up that clay. Now you're going to grab your slip. If you don't have any slip or know where to purchase some, this is super easy to make. You can take your leftover clay scraps that we cut up, put them in a jar, add a little bit of water, and if you need to, I have like a little mini whisk here that I'll whisk this up, but just so that you can see, just an old jar that I had laying around, I think it was for some yummy, yummy caramels. And then I've just continued to add water to mix that up and let it sit so that it forms into a slip, AKA a glue. So we are going to take a brush. You can see the consistency here. And we are just gonna load this up on our edges. Do the same thing over here. So now we are going to adjoin these edges together. So I like to flip this on the side, but I'll keep it this way so you can see a little bit. But we're gonna join those edges together and press those. For the purposes of how you will actually do this, you'll flip this on the side and then you'll really push those edges together. So I'll hold this up so that you can see. We will be able to smooth this out later, so no need to worry too much to get that seam perfect. So we're gonna let this dry for just a little bit, and then we're gonna work on cutting out the base. Depending on how big your slab was originally, you may have excess on that, or you can just have another small piece to work with. Biggest note here, I like to stand when I'm doing this so that I can look down, because now you're gonna take that piece that we've let set up a little bit and set that where you would like, and use your tool again and cut around on the outside of that. If you have a ton of excess, certainly save it. You can make slip, or you can reuse this for anything else. So we're gonna take that off. We're gonna flip this upside down, and we are going to score both the underside of this vessel and the bottom. Key thing is to make sure you remember what it matched up to. So that looks like it is the similar size. So now we can set that back down, grab our slip, load that up all around the bottom. Touch that down, pull this base out so it matches. You can also flip this so you can see how that is there so that you can attach. Biggest thing, you don't want to press too far or too hard down on this so that it smushes too much, but you do want to press hard enough so that it does attach. And we can come in here and smooth. And if yours sticks out, you can see here a little bit further, that's okay, leave that. We're going to take our carving tool and we can clean that up later. So the biggest thing, like all of this on the seam, is just to make sure that it is attached. All of this can be cleaned afterwards. And you can see all along the inside here, pick this up, get a little bit closer to the camera. You can grab your slip again and your brush and load that up and smooth out that seam. Once you're happy with that, we can set that aside and let this dry. So now that we've let this dry and set up a little bit, and what I mean is if you press kind of slightly on here, it's not just gonna fold in. This is the point where if you are not happy and this is maybe a little bit too high for you and you want to cut this down, you can do so right now. So you can grab your cutter tool and you can just go straight in the clay and come and cut this down. And so then you can pick that up and decide and say, okay, that's makes a little bit more sense for me for a planter. And then we're gonna come and smooth all of this off. So at this point, you're also going to flip this over, grab your straw that we mentioned earlier, or you can certainly use your cutter tool, but we are going to just make a hole at the bottom. This just to release any water. You can also, though, if you wanted to use it for a vase, you could keep this solid and everything will be glazed and you can use it from there. Now you're going to want to grab your bowl of water and your sponge. Dip that in, wring that out, and then just use this to help clean up any rough edges. If you trust yourself, you can also take a little bit off here. Careful, again, the rule is to start small and take a little bit off, and then you can always continue to take more off, as opposed to just grabbing this and digging in and really kind of going for it. So really just be gentle with your clay piece. Now we're just going to let this set and get ready to paint. So now that your piece has been smoothed and dried, you have a couple of options. You can take this and paint on the wet clay, or you can bisque fire this and then choose to paint on the bisque form. Your choice, however you want to do that. But at our brushstrokes workshops, we are doing everything right then and there. So we paint on the wet clay. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now so I can show you what that looks like. I'm using Mayco's Stroke and Coat Sour Apple. And the Stroke and Coat paints work great on wet or on bisque fired. Then for this, I'm going to show you just the little dry brushing technique that I used. This is a Royal 1/2 inch flat brush. Don't need to wet that, so just keep that dry. We are going to dip that in the paint and just come around and do some little paint swooshes. And again, remember that this clay, once it is fired, is going to be white. So I'm just gonna keep things simple and just leave it like that. All that's left to do now is deglaze and fire your plant pot, and then add your succulents and enjoy. Easy. Wanted to show you a couple different options now. Remember how we talked about with the template, you can cut that down, or once you have your clay that's formed, you can decide what your height is on your plant pot. So here's one that is a little bit taller and narrow, as opposed to this one that's a little bit wider and stockier. I've also painted a more modern minimalist, super trendy right now, with a navy that is here. I'll link everything below. This is the Mayco Bluebeard number 32. And if you're local to the Austin area, be on the lookout for workshops that we have coming up so that you can join us and create your own little plant pots. Until next time.